Hi Evie, I'm Elias and you're Evie, and Evie means life and connotes fullness and a warm sense of being, reminding us to take a deep breath, slow down, and experience life together, which is what we do together, you and me, on this channel. Got that intro in. I'm sure you remember that I was like, I'm gonna post, and then I got depressed and anxious and was like, everything I do sucks, I can't do anything right. I'm sure you remember that, because I remember that. Yeah, so sorry that I didn't post, but now I have a big idea because my professor is making us do something. And I was like, I'm gonna do it anyways, so might as well turn it into something, and I'm gonna talk to everybody about it in my life anyways, and annoy everybody in my life about this anyways. So might as well actually like get a project started and get something running and do something with it. Another news, I do have like my quality equipment now. Like I have a mic and everything. I tested it out. It's really good. It actually is really good. And I have like my camera. I would show that all and everything. And I have a lighting system and everything. But I tried several times to film videos on that, and it was taking too long to deal with. So sorry, you get that quality. Let's fucking go. But sorry, yeah, it takes too long to load into the system. It's specifically made for recording videos, but I'm sorry, I'm just gonna use it for photo shoots that I take. I'm sorry. It takes too long to load into the system and then edit. It's easier just doing this. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, on to explaining the 10 days living in Stoicism. I first want to get out all the ideas that one might have in their head. So, like, yeah, that was me taking away all of your previous ideas of what Stoicism is and means. Every horrible guy in your life was told you that he's a Stoic, and in reality he was just a dickhead. Yeah, take that out, because I'm so sorry if that's what you came, and I'm so sorry if you're one of those guys, like, and came into this video thinking that that's what this is gonna be. Fuck, I'm sorry. That's probably the only people other than my friends that would be watching this. Sorry, man. But yeah, like, the idea of Stoicism that you have in your head probably is most likely wrong. This sounds like, my brain is this big and your brain is this big. Yeah, like I am actually a philosophy major. I'm actually studying, like I actually am reading the books of what these philosophies are and mean. I'm actually going to be going off of what Stoicism actually is, not just the preconceived notion and like the bad version of it that a lot of people took and turned it into. That is not what I'm going to be doing throughout these 10 days. This is actually my final for a philosophy class, actually. So I am going to be kind of going off of the essay that I write for my conclusion, and I am going to be checking in with myself for the 10 days of my journaling process of what I'm actually doing. Like, this is actually all being monitored by a professor, and the ways that I'm actually changing my lifestyle are actually being monitored to see if they are according to Stoicism, and to see if they are like significant enough lifestyle changes to actually be an experiment within life. So now I will actually debrief what Stoicism is versus isn't. Preconceived notion is like, just live in accordance to logic, don't let emotion get in your way. I'm gonna speak kind of like the people who I've met who have gotten it wrong. They basically have told me, like, you are a weaker being, you are a lesser person because you feel emotion. Emotion allows you to make dumb decisions, get caught up in other people whenever you shouldn't, makes you give yourself up in times that you shouldn't for others, and it makes you a weaker, worse person because it allows you to get taken advantage of, and it allows you to be stupid and silly in life. Stoicism is that you should, like, I'm talking like the people who get it wrong. Like, Stoicism means that you should be logical 24/7, and you should be no emotion, and you should manipulate other people because you are so emotionless and stigma. Yeah, so that's not what it really is that they have an inherent belief that there is truth to the world, and that is nature, that is human nature, that is how society should be, and that there is an inherent way that everybody should be living in accordance to their life, but because we are flawed and because we don't know those truths, we often live very flawed. But wisdom is the main thing that they want people to cultivate. They want people to cultivate wisdom about the way that they live their lives, so that in any situation that crosses them, they can think ethically and morally and make sound decisions about anything in their life. And yeah, then there's this whole idea of becoming the sage, which is somebody who knows all ethical truths, all moral truths, but they believe nobody is truly a sage because nobody knows all the truths. It is very hard to be a sage because we as flawed humans will think that something's a truth and we will live by that, but we won't even realize whenever we are being hypocrites, or we won't even realize whenever in reality we are morally / ethically being wrong about that. But they believe that the idea of somebody who is a complete wise person and lives in complete wisdom and tells other people only the truth and gives people advice, like, and again, it's not the idea of like only tell people the truth, so walk up to somebody and tell them they're ugly. Like, that's not, like, they would probably believe that that's stupid. Why would you even do that? You don't even know the person. Like, that's kind of how they would think about it. Not like you need to be living in only tell people the truth. Like, that would be like kind of weird. They, like, yeah. And if anything, they kind of believe that every single person is kind of wrong about everything, but not like in a humble way. More of not like everybody fucking sucks. Like, it's like we should all be working towards finding out what the real truths of life are, so that then we can do things ethically and morally correct. But in reality, we are going to be flawed, and we are going to, there's this whole idea of somebody believing, like, I could think, like, let's say, for example, I think, and I truly believe it within myself, that, like, it is ethically and morally okay to go up to somebody and punch them because they need to learn. Like let's say I thought that. Like, you know, in reality, I would be thinking like, oh my god, I'm so wise, I'm so smart. But in reality, that's foolishness, and that's falsity. And falsity makes people steer away from the actual sage, the actual truthness. And because there is not a single person in the world that can be right about every single take that they have, or be right about every single thing, decision that they make in their life, because of that, nobody can ever truly be the sage. Like, that's what they kind of believe, but everybody should work towards becoming like the sage. Yeah, that's like in essence what it is kind of like. So yeah, there's like a lot of falsities that people believe. Like, there's a lot of things that people are probably doing now that are wrong, that we are living by falsities. There's times in the like history where we can look back and we can see that people were living in falsity, you know, and they thought that they were being ethically morally correct, but in reality, they were living in falsity and they were not living by truth. Like, yeah, so that's kind of what the idea of falsity kind of is. That's not like a coin term, it's just kind of what I'm saying. But yeah, that's just kind of what they believe. But overall, the idea of a sage and the idea of a person who's become fully wise is what the goal is. And within that, there's like a bunch of different beliefs of what they think about how people should think about death, how people should think about emotions. There's a bunch of different advice. Yeah, and I will touch up on those whenever I start talking about what I'm actually going to be doing for this experiment. Up here, I'm going to put the book that I'm going by, the book that I learned from, all these Stoic beliefs, and specifically what I will be exactly quoting, and the passages that I'm taking from as well, so that if anybody who is actually might be learning and kind of is watching this video for learning purposes, I don't know, or like they just, somebody who clicked on this video and now they do want to know a little bit more about Stoicism, there you go, or maybe experts are watching and they can know, I am taking from a book, I did learn, I didn't just hop on Reddit for 10 days and then was like, that's stuff I didn't do. I'm gonna get into the lifestyle changes that I'm actually doing, as well as the passages that I'm taking from. Yeah. Hey, so, it's a new day. Okay, so to sum up, what basically happened was that I went to class after filming, and I was going to say what my plans of action were, but then I went to class and actually changed up my plan of action. I will give my, like, actual plan right now, but then I will be explaining my other plan and how that still does tie to Stoicism, but how it just didn't tie to my life, necessarily. I'm sorry if the lighting and everything is bad or atrocious, it's just that, I woke up at 5 p.m. today, it's currently 6. I'll get into explaining, like, my days and my lifestyle right now. Today's actually day 1 of starting this challenge too, by the way, and it's kind of funny because I think that it looks like I'm playing it up for the video, you know, trying to be like, my life is so atrocious right now, look at me, I wake up at 5 p.m. every day and I'm a fucking bum. I literally have, like, microwavable macaroni, in the oven right now. It's microwavable or oven made. It really does seem like I'm trying to play this up for the video, but this is actually just how my life is. And, you know, I was going to change up the startup day to tomorrow so that I could literally just sleep in all day today, you know, wake up, do a little bit of, like, some homework online, and then go back to sleep, and then just start tomorrow. But I realized, like, I just need to start. Like, I just need to start. Clearly, if my life is going like this, I just need to fucking start. I need to get myself to start. So yeah, I promise that this will start to make sense. I will talk about my plan of action first, and like how it goes with Stoicism and the actual passages of writing and stuff. Then I'll talk about the plan that it was before I changed it up to be particular to me, because I still do think that plan still does tie to Stoicism and it does make sense. It's just that it makes sense for a different type of person than me. Like, the reason I changed it was that it specifically did not really tie to my lifestyle or myself and like my needs or what I need to change to make my life better, which is the very thing that you need to do in the living experiment. You need to tie it to yourself. So then I still will be explaining that though for a lot of other people that could probably be getting help by this. You know, I don't think anybody's gonna be doing the experiment like me, kind of, but you know, they might need some advice. Or it also just helps you understand Stoicism too, to just be hearing different methods. So yeah, I'm so sorry if I seem tired, if I seem weird, if the lighting is off, I'm just so sorry. Again, I wake up at 5, usually my good lighting times for my videos are in the morning, where I can have like my balcony open and I can have the pure daylight running on me, but this was completely my fault. Yeah, and I will also explain my lifestyle a little bit later so that I can kind of things. Yeah, I'll just let things run from now on, yeah. Okay, so first course of action right now is that I want to give a little introduction to the book that I am pulling from, just so that people understand whose words I'm kind of taking from and, you know, which philosopher I am exactly quoting and taking this all from. So the book that I'm pulling from is a bunch of works put together and like translated by somebody, but it's a bunch of works from Seneca, Lucius Annius. Yeah, so Seneca, that's who I'm taking from. That's what the passages are from. It's a bunch, like every chapter is a bunch of works that he wrote, and then the book collaged is all of his works kind of put together and translated into modern day English. And who he was a Stoic philosopher. He was actually an ancient Roman, born in 1 BC. He went to study like get a course of education that wealthy Romans all had to do, and yeah, they were sent out to be taught a bunch of philosophy, and he was actually taught by like his Stoics, like the modern day Stoics, like the creators of Stoicism. He was taught by them, and then he went on to be a Stoic philosopher himself. But he did study under a bunch of Stoic philosophers himself and got the actual Stoicism directly from them, and then went on to also be a Stoic philosopher himself. In Nero's Rome, he was constantly seeking wisdom, virtue, and tranquility within his life. Yeah, so all the things I'm pulling from are his written works. That's what the passages are going to be from. Yeah, you can see more of that if you want, but that is the introduction. That is what this book is for people who obviously aren't clicking on this, know exactly what I'm pulling from. Yeah. I will have up here my plan of action so that you can read along, and then I'll be explaining. The very first thing is that every night, and by the way, I had to write it in my outline, like if I was explaining it to somebody else to make it
to make it easier to comprehend.
Every night, you log at least 4 things which upset you during the day and triggered anxiety or depressive thoughts. Discover their root cause and dwell on overcoming the mental obstacle and why. Review how well you responded to the issue and how the obstacles strengthened your mentality and mental state.
Some examples of following this
Would be like being appreciative for what you do have in the situation and be grateful for your life and realize a silly little worry should not matter. Realize what you went through can be seen as a good hardship to have faced as you learn something. See its foolishness and worrying about it. So specifically what I pulled from on this was a section of On Providence where Seneca says, all adversity he regards as a training exercise. I assure you, good men should do the same. They should not be afraid to face hardship, which is page 18 on at least e-textbook. In class I realized that a lot of the pages in the book were not the same as e-textbook, which was something that kind of made it a little bit difficult, but yeah, it should be page 18 on e-textbook. So here's my explanation for some of why I chose to do that, like have that as my step 1 in the plan, with my first lifestyle change, is that, I'll just read from what I wrote. One of the portions of the readings which I found to be really powerful and spoke to me was in week 5's reading on Providence, where Seneca discusses the issue of people experiencing hardships. He writes, all adversity he regards as a training exercise. I assure you, good men should do the same. They should not be afraid to face hardships. In essence, this shows that Seneca taught that hardships were positive, as they help men garner wisdom on something difficult, making them stronger and in most cases, more able to practice virtue, as with the added benefit of understanding going through something difficult, they can practice the skill of having understanding, caring, and sympathy for others. So basically, if you went through something hard, you understand what it's like yourself, so now you can help somebody else out of that pit of darkness as well, making something bad into something good. Within this teaching, we learned that Stoicism believed that vice could not happen to a virtuous person. Vice is bad, and a virtuous person is good, and virtue is good. And that is something big amongst Stoicism, is that their belief is that virtue is good, good is good, bad is bad. The natural world order, there are things that are good, there are things that are bad. And simply anything that you can take and create into good is therefore good. Anything that you can take and make into bad is bad. Which that's not a very good explanation. That actually leads to a lot of questions that I honestly could not answer, but I hope that kind of explains. But yeah, it'll make more sense as I continue talking in aspects of this. So within this teaching, we learned that Stoicism believed that vice could not happen to a virtuous man, as a virtuous man only lives in virtue and would take that vice and create it into a virtue by reflection and turning it into the skill of compassion, reasoning, or caring for others. While this is a heavily controversial take, this all spoke to me, as I have always believed virtues like having compassion and care for others to be skills which are practiced and developed over time by people who face adversity and create their adversity in their lives into good things, like caring and compassion for others, therefore making that seemingly bad into good.
Okay, so the original plan intended that I ended up tweaking was actually to do this.
It's gonna be a little bit different than the way that this one was kind of sorted, because after talking to my teacher, he did say that I have to be a little bit more specific, like I have to give like the whole thing, how I have to write 4 things that kind of trigger anxiety or trigger depression. Before I did not write it like that. I kind of wrote it as like, write things that make you, I did not give myself specifics, so he later on changed that, but that's not what we're kind of focusing on, just focus on like the premise of what I'm kind of saying. The first day, you log the things which annoyed, upset, angered you, to keep log of the things which may ever cause anger to trigger a response of vice. In the same journal entry, then set up a plan tailored to yourself for the next day's course of action to make yourself calm down during the day's aggravations. Examples for myself would be like listening to music on my walk from class to cool down after anxiety-inducing class, or to come home and bake brownies before starting my challenging math project so I can delight in something joyous first. Lastly, in the same journal entry, review how well you responded to the course of events and which took place in your day and see if you are on the path of virtue. Yeah, so within that, don't pay attention much to the part about leaving a new path for yourself or something to do that'll make you happy, because that's actually my next course of action, because my teacher did explain to me, or my professor did explain to me, that I can actually break up my first plan into 2 lifestyle changes, and he was like, yeah, you kind of have 2 lifestyle changes going on in the first one, so in the end you kind of have 4 lifestyle changes, so break it up into 4 and then take 1 out, so you can actually have 3 lifestyle changes according to, the plan. So the main thing that I do want to get here was that the original intention for the first plan was that I have to keep a log of things which angered me, so that then I can see what would cause a trigger of vice or bad. And what I was specifically pulling from in this case was from these passages. Other passages that spoke to me were in week 4's On Anger, book 3. I was specifically taking from Seneca's On Anger, book 3, where we learn about the Stoics' view of emotions, in specific anger, and how we can tame these emotions to be virtuous. It is said, each man must adopt a plan of action according to his own character. AV 24 e-textbook. This represents how I will be creating a plan of action for myself in accordance to what I know will allow me to be most virtuous and stay away from the actions of anger and its harm. Furthermore, in this reading on Anger, book 3, we get tons of advice from many quotes throughout various pages, such as, don't compare yourself, 45 and 46, avoid triggers, 26 and 27, be aware of your own flaws, page 40, review your day, page 47, review what made you angry and prepare to avoid it the next day, or do something which calms you the next day. Force yourself to do things which make you happy, like seeing greenery or hearing music. Take comments about yourself with nuance or realize they are foolish, page 27. So the reason that my plan of action for the first day was actually heavily centered around avoiding anger was because Stoicism, or at least a lot of what Seneca's writings focused on, was actually on the emotion of anger. A big part of Stoicism, and this doesn't have to do with my daily plan currently, but I do just want to explain it for anybody who may actually gain a lot of wisdom from this advice, and it teaches a lot about Stoic value. So the way that Stoics view anger or view emotions in general is not the intrinsic feeling that we feel inside of ourselves that we know emotions to be current day. So kind of erase that from your thought, because that is not what they're talking about. They're not talking about the same thing that you were kind of thinking of whenever you think of emotions. They think of emotions as the actual action that you then take, or the actual judgment that you then take because of that feeling. So specifically, if you were to get angry, but then you were to kind of think about it and think like, oh, it's because somebody did me wrong, but I don't want to do wrong to them back. That would not be anger in that case. That would be you actually seeking calm and seeking peace. That would be you having a good judgment. Anger would be like if you just lashed out, started screaming at somebody, started, doing physical violence and started doing physical harm. And on Seneca's On Anger, book 3, a lot of stuff that really spoke to me about this was that he went on about how anger is one of the most bad things that man has intrinsically within himself. That it causes war, it causes bloodshed. Whenever a man gets angry, and by man we just mean person. That's what we mean. But yeah, so he says man, but it really just means person. But whenever man gets angry, like, and irrationally angry. We start to clench our jaws and we start to distort ourselves, and it turns us into these horrific beings, and again, it has caused blood, it has caused bloodshed, it has caused people killing each other, so a lot of Stoic value is actually to deter people from being angry. And that is where he shares a lot of advice on Anger Book 3, that is avoid triggers. He even says something about creating a list of things that you know are going to happen the next day. Like, you're going to have to talk to your boss that annoys you, you're going to have to talk to your coworker that annoys you, it's going to be raining, so you're going to be put in a bad mood. And he says that you should create a list for yourself to, or at least a mental list, maybe not a physical list, but a list of things that you know are going to anger you and upset you the next day, so that you can respond to it the next day in a way that is in accordance to virtue instead of lashing out accidentally at people. He also shares advice on Anger Book 3, such as whenever you experience anger, instead of allowing yourself to just blow up on people, you should take at least 3 breaths, you should think for 10 seconds, and think of a response that is going to be healthy and good and be beneficial to everybody, and then you should respond. You should not respond to anybody in anger. And, he also just gives a bunch of advice, like I stated, like, don't compare yourself, avoid triggers, be aware of your own flaws. That's why the other part of that first plan was to write things that made me angry, and to then review how well I responded to those things in that day. Because a big part of Stoicism is about learning every day and getting wiser every day, and actually reviewing yourself, reviewing if you acted in wisdom, reviewing if you acted in virtue, and to see if you are getting better every day, or if you worsen one day, and how you should fix that, and how you should respond next time that you are in a situation like that. So yeah, that was the original plan. The original plan was to write things that made me angry that day and how well I responded, and so that then next day I can go on to, respond to it better. And to see if I'm acting within virtue, and to just kind of get used to feelings of anger, so that then I don't trigger a response of vice. There was also a part of the plan that I ended up breaking up into 2, that was like giving myself something to force myself to be happy, to force myself to be in a good state. Like, Stoics believed in things like looking at greenery is going to naturally calm you, hearing music is going to naturally calm you, and then they even said things like do things, force yourself to do things that will make your brain calm, so that you cannot trigger vice and you cannot trigger anger. But I did break that up into 2. So the main thing that we're focusing on right now is the fact that I changed the plan from writing things that will trigger an anger response out of me into writing things that trigger an anxiety or depressive thought. So yeah, anybody who is listening to this can still take the advice that Stoicism has, like, prepare for things that make you angry, force yourself to be in things that make you happy, so that your brain can naturally calm down. Review how well you responded to anger, and take a step back whenever you feel angry, and breathe in deeply at least 3 times, and then wait for 10 seconds and respond to your anger, correctly. Yeah, and this is just a random part, but I even wrote a little essay on anger. It was basically comparing how Aristotle kind of views anger versus how Stoicism defines anger. So Aristotle kind of views anger as a positive, as a good, because he defines it as just a feeling that you feel to make somebody know that they have been wrong, that they have been, and then that you should think about it, you should reflect on that anger, reflect on why you're angry, and then make a good judgment, And I agree with that. I honestly think that Stoicism and Aristotle, they have the same idea. They want people to think about why they are feeling angry, and then they want people to make a good judgment. But my whole issue is that I feel like Stoicism properly defines anger as a thing that can cause a negative reaction. Meanwhile, Aristotle kind of is just like, oh, if you're angry, it's because somebody triggered that. And I've seen a lot of people take this and kind of run with it, with this idea of like, oh, somebody made me angry, so it's okay that I'm speaking ill of them behind their back. It's okay that I'm, lashing out at them because they made me angry, and so now they deserve it, And I don't like that. I like how Stoicism properly defines it as like, if you were acting in anger, you should think about what you were doing. Yeah, so again, the stuff, my other plan, somebody else can still take it, but the reason I tailored it to myself is that I honestly just don't feel a lot of anger in my life, if I'm being honest. Anger is not something that I typically feel, and it's not me trying to be like, it's not me having a superiority complex or anything. It's just true. I don't really get angry. I don't lash out in anger. It would have to take a lot for me to honestly do that. I just don't. If I had to list like 3 things that made me angry every day, I wouldn't really have anything, maybe little annoyances here and there. And then if I had to review how well I responded, I'm not gonna lie, I already have it as something within myself where I'm a very chill person, and anytime that I do get angry and I do feel myself slip into anger, I already do take 3 breaths and then kind of respond in a way that is clear. I never have felt the feeling of like vengeance and like, oh, I want to get that person back. Like I have, but that was more in teenage years where I was doing stupid decisions, honestly, and I was really dumb. And that's kind of why I created the essay of like Aristotle versus Stoicism belief of anger, because I kind of used to think like Aristotle. I didn't know that it was coming from Aristotle. I was just kind of thinking anger was like this, and so I thought that I was justified in hurting other people, because they hurt me and because they caused me to be angry, But yeah, but that was more teenage years. Then I ended up learning and being like that. It never made me happier whenever I saw people like suffer in my vengeance or whatever. Like it never made me happier. It never made them happy. It didn't do anything. They didn't learn a lesson. They just were angry, and the cycle continued back and forth between each other. Like I really just don't. I'm not an angry person. I don't feel angry throughout my day. I've already learned that feeling angry and doing something about it and causing something, it doesn't help anybody. It really does. So I tailored it to myself because the whole point is that it's supposed to be a lifestyle change for me. It's supposed to change my life. That other plan might change somebody else's lifestyle, and it might really change the way that they work. But that lifestyle change was not going to be tailored to me at all. I honestly wouldn't have had anything to review. I would have been like, yeah, I acted okay. I never yelled at the person back. I ended up just being a little bitch about it. So going back to like my actual plan, the writing 4 things which upset me during the day or triggered anxiety or bouts of depressive thoughts, that's more like me. It'll be basically anything will cause me to be anxious in the day. If somebody does something bad to me, I just kind of get really depressed about it, and somebody even just gives me a bad look, or I interpret it as a bad look, I shut down. That's one of my biggest issues, actually, is that, going throughout day to day, a big problem that I have is I will get one depressive thought, one anxious thought, or somebody, or I'll go about my day being like, I'm not gonna be anxious or depressed today, and then, something happens that changes my mind, and then I just spiral into anxiety, spiral into depression, and I'm like, I'm gonna stay in my apartment all day today, and I'm gonna sleep because I would rather not be facing life than to be, I would rather not be facing life and sleeping all day and face the next day tomorrow, and I'll try again tomorrow, it's a cycle that never ends whenever I do that, honestly, which is not good. It's really not good. It's really not. And now I'm gonna explain where this kind of comes into play with with Stoicism, a big part of logging in the stuff that made me anxious or depressive, it also comes from a lot of on anger, like Seneca's book on anger, like his things about don't compare yourself. That's a good thing. Whenever I get anxious or I start getting depressive, it's still a very good sentiment. Like he says on page 45 and 46, don't compare yourself. And then take comments about yourself with nuance or realize that they are foolish on page 27. That's something that he speaks about a lot. That whenever somebody speaks ill of you behind your back, you should not take that and start to tear yourself apart. If it is good advice, then, take it and work on yourself. But if somebody is just speaking ill of you behind your back, realize that they are foolish, and that opinion should not harm you as much as it typically harms me, So that's why I should reflect on it and realize that it is foolish of me to be getting so upset and then causing myself to spend my whole day in bed just because of some foolish other person, They're not acting in wisdom, they're not acting in virtue, so it shouldn't harm me. And that is a good sentiment that I should be taking and putting into my own life. And then, as I spoke about the quote on Providence, which I'm mainly writing my essay about in this paragraph, all adversity he regards as a training exercise. I assure you, good men should do the same. They should not be afraid to face hardships, which is one of the main things that I have to do. He also speaks a lot about how whenever people feel depressed, they should start to appreciate all that is around them, all the good that they do have in their life. Like men will often, when anxious, again, men means person, when anxious or depressed, start to think about all the negatives, start to think about all the bad. Whenever so much good surrounds you every single day, and then so that's something that I want to take, from Stoicism. I want to, whenever I start getting depressive and sad and all these things, I want to realize I have friends who love me, who want to see me. I've noticed since learning about Stoicism that I shut down all the time, and I have friends who text me do you want to go to this place? Do you want to go here? Do you want to come out with us here? Oh fuck, I ruined my lighting. But yeah, I have friends who are asking to see me, wishing to see me, and I shut down, and that's not helpful, that's not good. If I were to appreciate all the things around me, I would realize my friends love me, my friends want to see me, I have good things around me, I'm living in a good life, I should be more appreciative. And then, as he says here, all hardship is just a training exercise, which is why I'm going to review every way that I, spent hardship, and if I start to notice that instead of I got triggered by anxiety and I got triggered by depressive and I spent all day in bed, if I change that outlook and
Okay, so my microwave or my oven mac and cheese just got done, so I'm gonna go get it, but I am gonna finish my comment real quick because it stopped recording because my timer went off. And I am gonna fix my lighting issue over here once I come back as well.
if I start to, I was really going, but now I got cut off. But anyways, if I start to actually deal with my anxiety and deal with my depression in good ways, if I actually powered through it, and I actually force myself to go out with my friends, force myself to go out throughout the day, force myself to talk to people who I feel hate me or, yada, 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 if I force myself to have a good day instead, and I can review that, and I realize that I faced a hardship. I got myself through hardship, and now I am better for it. Now I had a good day instead of shutting down and sleeping in bed all day and rotting in bed all day. Now I'm somebody who faced hardship. Now I'm somebody who worked hard through those mental issues and through that mental struggle. I'm going to be somebody that's so much stronger by the end of this. If I actually force myself to power through my anxieties and force myself to review if I did that day, because I probably am going to have some ups, throughout these 10 days, but at least I'm going to hold myself accountable to how I did throughout those days. So again, this version of the plan is much more tailored to me, and it still goes within those beliefs, as I mentioned in all the passages and all the advice that Seneca gave. And that's kind of how I'm doing with step 1 of the plan. And anybody who wants to follow along or wants to take this advice for themselves can. Yeah, I'm gonna go get my thing and the lighting will be better once I'm back.
On to step 2, and for the rest of these, I didn't end up tweaking them or fixing them. It was just that they got split into 4, and then I ended up taking 1 out, and and then I kept the other 3, which the 3 things that I kept were as it sees now. The 4th thing that I took out was the anger thing, because I don't really feel anger. But yeah, so everything else is as spoken in, everything else is fine. So step 2 of the plan, again as if spoken to somebody else, was to
set up a plan tailored to yourself for the next day's course of action to make yourself calm down during the day's aggravations. Each day going forward, you read the last day's activity you set out for yourself to do in order to calm down, and leave a new course of action for the next day, and so on. This cycle repeats until the last day where you do not have to leave a new course of action for yourself. Examples: listening to music on my walk from class to cool down after anxiety-inducing class. Come home and bake brownies before starting my challenging math project so I can delight in something joyous before starting something hard. So, in basic, just force yourself to do something tomorrow. Today I'm going to write, do this tomorrow, do this, and basically force myself to get out there. Something that I'm thinking about doing is forcing calls to friends back home. I often avoid those because I get very anxious about how I sound on call. I get very anxious that conversation isn't going to flow between us, and I think, what if they end up hating me? What if I don't even know. I'm like, what if I'm not funny enough? What if I just am not entertaining enough to be their friend anymore? And I don't know, but I'm going to force myself now that once I do it, I'm probably going to be a whole lot happier. And this is where it is coming from in Seneca, On Anger, Book 3. Each man will have to adopt a plan of action according to his own character. For some are won over by appeals, some trample and stamp on those who submit, some we will win over by making them afraid, some are deflected from their purpose by being taken to task, others by an admission of wrong, some by shame, others by delay. A tedious care for a swift malady and only to be undertaken as a last resort. For though the rest of the passions may be amenable to such a postponement and may be carried at a slower pace, this one, with its rapid and self-propelled violence, does not proceed gradually but reaches its full scope the moment it begins. Unlike other vices, it does not tempt the mind but carries it off by force, and drives those who, lacking self-control, desire the destruction it may be. But everyone spending its rage not only on the targets of its aim but on whatever happens to cross its path. Page 24. what's basically being said here is that this is advice about anger, by the way. It is about the fact that anger just happens whenever, like, at random. Like, something can make you really angry and it takes you, which is why the Stoics define anger as one of the worst things about man, that it can cause somebody to change all of humanity and kind of act in an animalistic way whenever anger just takes them. Which is why it says that each man must adopt their own plan. You know, the reason I use aggravations is that aggravations are like negative things that happen to people that make them act out in anger. And again, it is said that each man must adopt his own plan of action, meaning that some people do better by practicing, you know, like going through what's going to happen in the day that makes them angry. Like, you know, the listing that I kind of stated was my other plan. Some people do better by forcing themselves to see greenery, to see music, you know, to hear music, because as it says later on in the passage, anger just kind of comes out at you. Anger will randomly change you from the best mood ever to so angry. So if you plant in little sprouts of happiness and things that are going to calm you down, you can stop your brain, or stop yourself in a way, from getting to that point of anger randomly, you know, which is what is, you know, being told. But then something we talked about in class as well is that it does depend though on every single man. Every single person is different. Some people will thrive on a to-do list, some people will crumble on a to-do list, you know. But the reason that this is very much specifically tailored to myself is, again, I shy away from doing things that make me happy. I crumble and I lay in bed all day, all the time. I crumble and I don't call my friends all the time. And if you are watching this, I'm very sorry, because you have probably experienced me being like, sorry, and then shying away. And or you inviting me to something and me crumbling and me leaving, because I don't know. It's really bad. And I want to force myself to do things that are going to make me happy and not crumble. So, that's my plan. But yeah, on to the last thing. Challenge yourself to not partake in any gossip amongst friends, and kindly but bluntly state your own stance, firmly, and stand your ground in not partaking, while still being kind, in order to not simply follow through with what others are doing, and to instead follow my own moral principles and to stand firm in it. So this one did also change. It was still the same plan, but it was a little different, and I do want to read that one out and explain what kind of changed. So I want to challenge myself to not speak ill of anyone, specifically to not partake in any form of gossip. Since learning about Stoicism, I've realized the amount of gossip that surrounds people in their daily lives, and I've realized I'm very much a hypocrite in the ways I felt about gossip. I always felt I disliked it and did not like myself to be spoken of negatively, and did not feel others should be judged for small things either, especially due to my history with having been bullied in the past. Until I took note of just how common it is within my groups of friends for us to partake in gossip naturally, and sometimes even daily, without even trying. I always thought of us as very kind, compassionate, caring people, but very easily we slip into talk about old friends or past exes. Since awakening myself to this, I want to especially challenge myself to go some time with friends where I exclude myself from the gossip and either do not let the conversation flow to that, or exclude myself from partaking in any form of gossip. As stated from Seneca, a man that lets his curiosity get the best of him, such as wishing to partake in gossip or drama, is only risking his own peace of mind and self-harming. So, basically, what changed is that my professor did say that 2 of our things have to come from readings that we did together in class, but one of the things does have to come from a reading that we did on our own separately in the book, and I needed one of my things to match a reading that I did on my own, so I did kind of change it around. Also, another thing that I want to say is that this quote is actually not a quote. I went back and reread it, and never does Seneca ever say, a man that lets his curiosity get the best of him is such as wishing to partake in gossip or drama is only risking his own peace of mind and self-harming. That was a me thing. I wrote that. But the thing is, I wrote it in my notes, and for some reason in my notes, I wrote page 19, but it was, he never said that. I lied. Yeah, and then when I went back to page 19 and looked for it, and I looked for it everywhere as well, it was never there. However, it is a Stoic sentiment though. I know that for sure. I do remember, I went back and remembered the day that, like, I wrote that, and I remember that it was basically a summary. I summarized something that Seneca did say, but then I turned it into a quote that was actually me. So this is a summary. He does believe that. It is believed in Stoic philosophy that it is foolish to talk ill about other people. It is one of the most, like, foolish things that people can do, is spread gossip or spread rumors or talk negatively about somebody behind their back or something like that. Like, that is a sentiment within Stoicism. It actually is thought of to ruin your mental clarity, which is something that they care about a lot. They care about mental cultivating, which is, you know, framing your mentality to be in a tranquil, peaceful state. Yeah, they don't like gossip. They think that is just ruining your own peace of mind. Partaking in gossip and drama, it will just make your own mind crumble. It is dumb to be doing that. It isn't making you wiser. It isn't making you better. It honestly just ruins your peace of mind to be thinking so negatively and puts you in a negative mental state, which you should be staying away from. He takes it as a form of self-harming. Sorry, but in his idea, it is, because it's making you worsen in a way. But again, that quote is not actually, he does believe that, but that's not a quote, So the reason that it changed from simply like, oh, don't partake in gossip, is that my professor was also like, I sound so low, but my teacher, I'm like, alright bro. But again, my professor was like, oh, but think about how challenging it's going to be to not partake in gossip, like, but you still have to be kind to your friends though. How are you, think about how you're going to get past that situation, you know? And that's why I changed it to, and then also because I needed it to come from a passage that we didn't read together in class, I needed it to come from a reading that I looked for, so this is why I kind of changed this way. Challenge yourself to not partake in any gossip amongst friends, and kindly but bluntly state your own stance firmly, and stand your ground in not partaking, while still being kind, in order to not simply follow through with what others are going, and what others are doing, and to instead follow my own moral principle and stand firm in it. The reason that changed was because this is the reading that I did by myself. It's called On the Happy Life, written by Seneca. Seneca's writing, On the Happy Life. And yet there is nothing that brings greater trouble on us than the fact that we conform to rumor, thinking that what was one widespread approval is best, and that as we have so many to follow as good, we live by the principle, not of reason, but of imitation. What follows from this is that men are piled high, one on top of another, as they rush to their ruin, just as it happens that in a great crowd of humanity that is crushed together, when the people jostle against each other, no one falls without dragging someone else down with him, and the ones in front bring destruction on the ones behind. So you may see the same thing happening throughout all of life. No one who goes astray affects himself alone, but rather will be the cause and instigator of someone else going astray. It is harmful to attach oneself to the people in front, and so long as each one of us prefers to trust someone else's judgment rather than relying on his own, we never exercise judgment in our own lives, but constantly resort to trust, and a mistake that has been passed down from one hand to another takes us over and spins our ruin. It is an example of others that destroy us. We will regain our health if only we distance ourselves from the crowd. But as things are, the people defending their own wickedness set themselves up against reason. Page 49. So this kind of just talks about the fact that in order for us to conform, in order for us to fit in, we will sometimes do things that go against our own morals. And not just that, but it is something that is widely believed in Stoic philosophy, is that if you are foolish, if you are living by foolishness, and then you give people advice of foolishness, you are doing a double wrong, because now you are forcing other people to live in foolishness and to live in vice because you gave foolish advice to somebody, which, you know, this kind of does dabble in that, in the fact that some people will do things that go against actual ethics and morals, like good morals and good principles, but then other people will follow along thinking that that is what they need to do as well. And think that this spoke a lot to me and like what I was doing, and it also answered the issue of how to be kind to my friends while still saying I don't want to do it. You know, like I spoke about before, I've always taken it as my own moral principle. I don't really like talking negatively about people. I don't really, you know, I've been bullied before, and I don't like the idea of hurting others for things they can't control, or, you know, even if they did do bad, people can grow and people can change, you know. But I just kind of would naturally, which is not me blaming my friends. I definitely blame as well. I definitely have partaken so many times. I've probably been the instigator sometimes too, you know, and this is me reflecting on myself, just like Stoicism says to do. Reflect on your own vice, get better every day. But yeah, like, I've definitely partaken in gossip or things like that, just to follow the crowd, just to imitate everybody else. And that is why, like it says in On the Happy Life, page 49, I'm gonna stand firm in my ground and stand firm in my morals, not just follow the crowd, not just imitate everybody. Those are my 3 plans. Yeah, from now on, I will just be checking up every 2 days and explaining what I kind of wrote in my journal. It's probably honestly gonna be me tackling the things that made me anxious and seeing how well I did facing that hardship and seeing how appreciative I am becoming of things. It also is gonna be me reviewing the thing that like I forced myself to do to kind of make me happier, you know. Yeah, I also want to state that I'm not going to be updating, or maybe, I'll figure something out, but I don't really know if I'm going to be updating this so much on the gossiping thing, because I just think that it would be really, like, a really weird sentiment to hop on, like, a YouTube video and be like, hey guys, so today I kind of talked bad about this person, I called them this, and that, you know, like, that would be a really weird sentiment to be like, yeah, so today I'm so sorry, but I just couldn't help myself, I called this person out, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I think that would be weird, that would be a really weird YouTube video concept, you know. So I don't know, I'm not really sure yet. Maybe I'll hop on here and say, like, oh yeah, like, I bluntly stated within my friends, like, I slipped up and I kind of just imitated because I didn't want to stand up to one of my friends and be like, hey, like, you know, maybe I'll say that, I'll figure it out as I go, but again, I just think it would be a really weird video concept. Like, I will be doing it on my own, like, this isn't just me being like, oh, I'm gonna sneakily in my own life actually not do the third thing, you know, and get away with it. My lips look really shiny because of the lighting source, like, it's been bugging me this whole time. But anyways, like, I am gonna be doing it within my own life, but I just don't know if I'll be updating this video log that much. I will update it in my essay, and I will say the truth about what happened in the essay, but again, I just think it would be kind of a really weird YouTube concept to talk on screen, like, hey, so today I actually have to hold myself accountable on video and say that I called this person off, you know, like, I just think that would be a really weird YouTube concept. So, but again, I might figure something out. Otherwise, I think the 10-day challenge that I'm going to be hopping in is I'll hop on screen 5 times for every 2 days and explain what I've kind of been journaling, what I've kind of been grasping through. Yeah, I hope that this gave you, like, I hope that the passages, as well as the advice that I'm pulling from them, gave you a better understanding of Stoicism, and maybe even some advice that you should kind of be taking for yourself. Again, not to a point of maybe experimenting with your life, but just kind of taking advice here and there, you know, from some things that might help you in your own life that you might have realized, like, hey, like, that's true, like, I could take that here and there, you know. Yeah, but definitely, though, be careful about falling into routines that don't help you. That's actually something that kind of is mentioned on the second passage that I mentioned, the On Anger, where every man should adopt his own plan thing. Seneca is big on the fact that you shouldn't just do things to get yourself in a routine. Like, he actually speaks negatively about just doing to-do lists, or, like, men who kind of frame their life doing a bunch of work 24/7 so that they don't think about, so that they don't have time to think, so they don't have time to stop and think about their own life, but they just kind of busy themselves with work and make themselves like a workaholic to not think about what's actually going on in their life, or to think about what they're actually thinking about. Yeah, he's big on straying away from that, which is why you have to adopt a plan to yourself, uniquely to yourself. So yeah, I'll hop on now from every other day. Oh yeah, this is something else, but I was widely considering not starting today whenever I realized that I woke up at 5 p.m. I was widely considering, like, I'll just start tomorrow, you know, because today's May 1st, by the way, and I'm going to be doing this until May 10th. But I was widely considering, like, I could just start tomorrow, I'll just start tomorrow, you know, because I already wasted half of my day away, you know, like, how am I even going to be doing this, you know? But no, I am going to be forcing myself to start today, because I realized, like, most of these challenges, you kind of start out bad, like, you kind of start out in the bad position that you're kind of living in, and then you see yourself get better, which I was also thinking about how funny it seems, too, that, like, I'm starting bad, like, it seems like I'm kind of plotted this for the video, you know, like, oh yeah, the first day, I'm gonna literally sleep in bed and rot for 5 days, and be like, hey everybody, I'm gonna come on screen, like, hey, I'm so tired, I rotted half of my day away, you know, and then on the, like, 10th day, I'm like, yeah, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I got my day started, and this is gonna look so fake, if on day 10, I actually do happen to wake up at 5 a.m., like, it actually is gonna look so fake if on the 10th day I'm, like, thriving and I'm, like, so happy, like, it is gonna look so fake, but, like, I promise you, this is just coincidence. The way that I kind of live my day every day is I do kind of wake up at, not 5 a.m., not 5 p.m., no, this is not usual, the usual is actually not any better, but, I wake up anywhere from, like, 12 to 3 p.m., yeah, but then some days I, like, sleep all day, though. Oh, that's not any better. But some days I sleep all day, though, and it causes me to wake up at, like, 5 a.m., 8 a.m., and then those days I get my day started and actually have a really good day. So my life is really inconsistent and really weird. Other days I, like, stay up all night. Yeah, my life is really inconsistent and really weird, and I already explained the things with anxiety and stuff, but my lifestyle changes are not to get my sleeping schedule fixed, though, so it happens naturally. Yeah, we'll just see how this goes, I have no clue how it's going, and again, I did not fix this up to where I was like, I'm gonna make a whole bit where on the first day, I'm a trashy little loser where I sleep in until 5 p.m. and I don't do anything, and I bed rot, and I eat microwavable macaroni. I did not plot that, I literally was thinking to start tomorrow, because I was like, I ruined my day already, I didn't do anything half of my day, it's already, I don't know what time is it now, it's literally already kind of too late to even have been done anything in my day, it's already 8, yeah, I literally kind of ruined this, and kind of did not do anything all day, but I'm still doing the right things though, and I'm still starting, it doesn't matter, I'm still starting today, because if anything, it's good to start on the day that you are doing the worst. Yeah, I'll check up on you tomorrow, because that's gonna be day 2, right? I don't know, I'll see, I'll start checking up on you later.
Hello everyone, this is not my usual setup, and this is a different day. Okay, I did the laundry, and you know whenever you pick out a piece of, like, your wardrobe that, like, you end up being like, oh my god, I haven't worn that in forever, but it's actually, like, it looks good, why haven't I worn that in forever, and then you plan it out to be something that you wear later on, like, for an event or something. That's what happened here, okay? That happens to me a lot, all the time. I actually did something today, I met with people today, okay? No, like, that sounds like, oh my, whatever, okay? So I wore this out today, like, I actually wore this out, and I washed it the day before. I'm gonna be honest, I wore this shirt just because I randomly picked it out because I was in pajamas, and I needed to actually wear something to look adjustable to the video, but this time I'm actually wearing it, like, because I actually wore it out after cleaning it, after putting it in the laundry, and then I was like, wait, and then I started using it for an outfit, so I know I'm in the same clothes, but it was disgusting to me. Okay, yeah,
Okay, so I'm here for the Stoic review so far. It's currently day 4, but I'm going to talk to you about the past 3 days. I was going to do it every 2 days, but nah, I'm just going to do it whenever inspiration strikes, and then I'm going to have a conclusion at the end. Yeah, so I'm going to talk to you about day 1 and day 2. It's actually extremely funny because it seems like I'm doing it for the bit. It seems like I'm just pretending to, like I had all these revelations about life, but, like, it did happen, so I don't know, and, like, it's just embarrassing now because I'm, like, in a good mood now. So reading how I was doing on day 1 and day 2 of this is just embarrassing. So on day 1, I felt like I was really annoying, and I felt like I annoyed all of my friends. Then I felt like I was a bother to my roommates. I don't like being in their space. I don't like going out to the kitchen. I don't like it. I just feel like I annoy them. I feel like they don't like me. And I don't really like that. It makes me upset. And I just wrote one upsets me, which was just like I was not feeling motivated at all. So the way that I dealt with that, so I didn't really do good first day of the challenge. I thought that every day it was gonna be like a consistent thing of trying to make myself feel better. But then on day 1 and day 2, I realized like that's really unrealistic. And if anything, I'm actually happy that this went out the way that it did because it's kind of good to see. Like it was actually shocking to have to force myself to write down the chronic thoughts that I have 24/7. And like it was good for me to list out how I kind of deal with my issues like throughout day to day because it forced me to actually have to look back at something and go, wow, you really did that. Like, you did that. For example, because I felt that I was annoying to all of my friends, I forced myself to stay away from them for a whole day because I wanted them to have, like, a little breather away from me, and I just felt so annoying. I felt so bad that I just didn't text my friends or talk to them at all. I also didn't go into the kitchen. I remember this. I was really hungry, but I just didn't go into the kitchen at all because I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to know anybody. I didn't want anybody to look at me. I felt ugly. I felt disgusting. I felt weird in comparison to all of them. So I just didn't step into the kitchen. I was super hungry, and I didn't do that. And forcing yourself to look back at something like this is just... it's rough. Like, it makes you realize, like, at first, this is a regular thing. Like, this isn't like, oh, I just am doing something bad for the first day so that people think that my life sucks. Like, no, this is like, I genuinely do this all the time. I all the time don't want to go in the kitchen because I feel like I'm annoying. I just rot in my bed all day because I don't want my roommate to think that I'm being loud. I low-key don't live that great. So my outlook, I don't want to do anything. Lol, what the fuck? I rotted all day that day, which again, in terms of the plan of like how I need to live in stoicism and I need to realize I need to be grateful for my life and I need to yada yada, it wasn't that good. I just let myself rot. I just let myself do whatever. However, it does get better because I forced myself to do the work after. And if anything, I'm actually glad that I did allow myself to fail the first few days because it actually gave me a proper outlook to how I live regularly without, like this is just, it gave me a proper perspective and even an opening, like an eye-opening moment of like, dude, the way you live your life is sad. That is sad. That is not okay, and that's sad. That's sad. Clean up your life, pick up your life, And it just made me realize the things that I do subconsciously that I never write out, and the things that I think subconsciously that I never write out, and like why I do certain things. Like it made me realize I'm not living too great. I'm not doing too great, and I do this all the time. I just don't call myself out for it. Day 2 was the worst day that I had. Possibly, I felt like I failed the challenge too because I did none of the things that I set out for myself to do. Like none of the positive things that I set out for myself to do. I actually did nothing, and I rotted all day in bed. Didn't even get up to eat. I was thinking that I was like super annoying. I thought I wasn't a really good person and I was like having revelations about that. I'm just a bother, I don't know. And then I was so tired, had no motivation for anything at all. I did not complete any of the tasks that I set out for myself to do to make myself feel better. I didn't do any of the work. My outlook was just horrible. I was rethinking everything. I wasn't living too good. Like, I wish that I could give you a proper perspective of how I was doing on that day, but I'm like low-key chill now because of what happened on the 3rd day. But just know I was not doing good at all. And this is honestly a better reflection of how I live my life day to day. Like, that's how I live my life day to day all the time. It was a constant repeat of day 1 where I was like, it was bad, but I did eventually go to the kitchen and I ate. I did eventually do my homework, But day 2 was like, then I just sleep all day. I don't do anything. I don't touch my work. I don't talk to people. Nothing. I just isolate and that's it. And it's like, my life is usually a constant repeat of day 1 and day 2. Yeah, and again, forcing yourself to write that and look at that and be like, dude, you live your life like that in a cycle. Like, it was helpful. Myself to do the next day was to wake up, shower, clean, do homework and get it out of the way, do your laundry, break brownies because you didn't yesterday. Day 3 starts to look up, okay? In the beginning of the day, I started horrible, okay? Again, I thought that I was annoying to all of my roommates. I thought that was so bothersome. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I had no motivation, and I just felt disgusting and gross. Then I started to do the tasks that I set out for myself so that I could make the day a good day, even if I'm forcing myself to. Here's the part where I really want to get into it myself. A part of the reason that the challenge was so hard is that in order to change your perspective about your own life in the Stoic way, and at least the way that I was challenging myself, is that I had to learn to be grateful for my life. I had to learn to be appreciative of all that I have. I had to learn to think about all the like traumas and negative things that I've went through in my life as like a good thing, so that then it made me into a stronger, more fulfilled person. I had to be able to look at the life around me and realize that I was wasting it, just thinking about things that happened in the past or things that might happen in the future. I had to learn to realize that, but I was so stuck in my ways. Like I was truly so stuck in my thoughts where I couldn't notice anything to be appreciative of. I could have, like I was like, yeah, I live like this, and I go to college, and I'm grateful and I'm lucky for that. Like it's great, but that doesn't change how I'm living day to day, though. That doesn't change anything. That doesn't make my life better. That doesn't make my life worse. I still have to live and drag myself every day being me. And like, I don't know, and it was just really hard. Like I was stuck in my old mindset. I was stuck and I didn't want to do the work. I remember that I kept thinking to myself like, you need to do the work. You can't like, in order to pass this Stoic living experiment, you have to break down the way that you thought about your life before. Every way that you are stuck in living, every way that you are stuck in thinking about your life, you have to change it. You have to do the work. You have to do self-reflection, which is something that was so hard for me because I don't like doing that. I don't like thinking about myself. I don't like looking in the mirror. I stay away from all of that. I stay away from all of that. If I have to change my perspective, I have to change my life. Like it's hard to break out of that. It's hard to think I was wrong. It's hard to reflect on the things that you don't want to reflect in life. It's hard, And not just that, I tried to do the work. I tried to be appreciative of what I had. I tried so hard. It was legit only until I asked a certain friend of mine who I was talking a lot to about this Stoic challenge that I was showing him like how bad I was doing the last 2 days. And I know I said I didn't talk to any of my friends. I didn't talk to any of like my in rotation regular friends that I talked to like on the daily. Like this was more like a random friend. Like now I talk to him on the daily since we started reconnecting. But I was like, yeah, I'm doing so bad. I think I'm just gonna quit this fucking challenge. What the fuck? I can't get my life straight. Dude, I don't know why, but I'm just stuck in my own head. Like, I need, like, please just bluntly yell at me almost and tell me, like, what it is that you're seeing or thinking of right now. And he bluntly was like, you live in Los Angeles area, like, you go to college. There are third world countries where, like, people don't do that. Like, and he's from, like, other country. I don't think it's third world, but, he's from another country. And he was like, dude, they're, like, in some places of this country, like, people don't fucking, like, it's a luxury to be going to college. You get paid to go to college. You have never paid for your college in your life. Your fucking tuition and stuff is paid for. You have so much to look out for. You have an apartment that you live in, and you pay for yourself. You don't have a job. You just study, and you get paid to study. You live in Los Angeles. Los fucking Angeles. Like, and then he was like, you're a selfish person. You know who you are. You, like, a lot of people don't even know who they fucking are. Whenever you make decisions for yourself, I notice that you make them very firmly on the things that you like, on the things that you're interested on you, because you know yourself. You have always been able to stick up for yourself in moments that you notice things are happening to you. You are a self-reliant person. You are, like, you're fine. You're fine in life. You're doing fine. You have so much, like, and that made me, like, it all hit me at once in that moment. And, like, I know I just sound fucking crazy and insane right now, but it, like, I wish that I did kind of check up on myself on the second day, and I did kind of record how glummy I was, because now it just seems like I always had this outlook, and I was always this kind of upbeat and motivational, how I kind of am right now. I don't know. But I promise you, literally, on the second day, I was actually just, I was in pajamas all day, I was running all day, I was in, like, this big fat hoodie. I was literally just thinking to myself, like, I hate myself, I don't like anything, I don't want to do the work, I don't want to think, I don't want to have to change my mindset, I'm fine like this. I got so comfortable in it that I didn't really care, and I didn't want to review my life. I was so scared to review it. I was just so, and I was like, well, nothing changes. But then having somebody else, like, because that's the thing, like, I kept trying to do the work, I did keep trying to do the work, but I just couldn't. There was nothing that I myself, like, I'm so used to my blessings every day that I couldn't think of anything to be grateful for. I couldn't. So having somebody else just bluntly tell me, like, you are so lucky, you are so lucky, you sound like such a bitch to me, honestly, whenever you're like, like, literally, in that moment, I realized that, literally, like, I'm in this beautiful fucking field with flowers and daisies and butterflies all around me, and yet I'm, like, that was literally how I was living life. I had so much blessings around me. I had so much around me. And I know if you were, like, stuck in that mindset kind of thing, like, yeah, I know that I should be grateful. Like, this is how I was kind of thinking. I was like, yeah, I know that I should be grateful for my right hand. I know other people don't have their right hand, but that doesn't make my life any better, though. Just because I do have something that I live with all the time, and somebody else doesn't have it, just because somebody else doesn't have it doesn't make my life greater or worse. It just keeps my life the same. And because I went through XYZ and in my past, and I have XYZ worries to worry about later, like, my life is still worse. You know, like, not worse than the person without that, but, like, my life is still bad because I've gone through this trauma and I have this anxieties in the future. You know, that's, like, how I was thinking. But, like, I don't know, just having somebody else tell me was, like, the main contributor to being able to do this Stoic review of being like, dude, I am actually sitting around with so much blessings every day, and I did nothing but just let them rot around me. Like, I had flowers blooming around me, and I just let them rot. Like, I'm truly the reason. I've been doing nothing but sleeping in my bed every day, letting the full day waste away. When again, I'm in LA, like, take a bus and do something fun. Go to a coffee shop. Meet with your fucking friends. Your friends ask you to hang out. Your friends ask you to hang out, and you don't do it. I have literally just been living around with so much blessings around me. Flowers blooming, and I've been letting them die. I've been snipping them off, being like, no, you don't like me. No, I think I'm annoying. No, like, and for what? For what? That hasn't been making my life any better. That hasn't been making anything better. You know, and then my traumas in my past, yeah, but they're in your past, man, and that's why you are such a self-assured person. That is why currently you live your life with so much knowledge. Think about all the situations that, like, this friend kind of told me personally that I've been in, that, like, you know, like, well, he didn't tell me, but, like, he was just like, I could tell, like, whenever you choose things for yourself, you choose it because you like it. Whenever you have the ability to say no in your life and tell people that, whenever you stand firm in things that you believe in, you do that because you've went through things before. You're not meek, you're not, like, you've learned, you become such a self-aware person that makes such self-aware decisions. You are smart, you are intelligent, and because of those past things that have happened to me, that's why I am the man that I am today. That's why I can do all these things. And then he was like, and for your anxieties in the future, you are so self-assured now. You've gone through so much in your past. Why can't you get past the things in the future? Why can't you? You can. You have always overcome. You do know yourself. You've gone through so much already. You can get through so much more. And there are so many people in life who aren't living like that. There are so many people, like, there are things that we don't even notice about ourselves, that we have positives within ourselves, like things that we went through, things that we stand firm in, things that we believe in, things like I don't think I'll ever get myself into a toxic relationship because I know when to cut people off. Because I went through things in the past that have brought me to that place where I'm not shy or meek in that area. I do stand up for myself. And there are other people in other situations repeating the same cycles all the time within those things because they haven't gone through it yet and they need to learn that and they don't really know how to break out of that cycle. I've already gone through that in the past. Why am I still upset about that? It strengthened me now and it made me who I am now, and I'm never gonna go through something like that again because I've already been through it. Like, it just, I have so much blessings. There are blessings within me, and I don't mean blessings like even faith or anything like that, just good things around me. There are things outside of me, like, you know, my college, my education, all that, but there's things inside of me too, like my strength, my knowingness of myself, my ability to say no, all these things, and I've just been sitting around wasting them. I've been sitting around not even, like, I know every philosophy video was like this. It honestly just feels so predictable. Like, I remember looking at these people on screen, like, saying, like, oh yeah, it's day 3, and yada yada, and they're like having all these epiphanies, and yada yada, but then I was always like, okay, but that can never be me though, because my life's never gonna change, and like, it truly is just about changing your own fucking mindset. That truly is what it just is, and I promise you, if you just do the work, you can get here. And I know, I was trying to do the work, but the reason that I couldn't do it was because I needed somebody outside of me, because I was so stuck in my own blessings that I didn't even realize all that I had. But having somebody else just tell me, like, dude, you live in Los fucking Angeles, you have clothes on your back, you have food to feed you, you're studying in a nice college, and it's all paid for. You have never paid out of pocket for anything in that college. Nothing. You have so much blessings. And then even, like, the person that I am being told by somebody else, like, you've learned so much, you are an intelligent, wise person that I know. And other people don't have that luxury. Other people are living horrible lives right now because, and they're getting themselves into toxic situations right now because they don't know any better and they're stuck in that. And you have so much. You have so much. And the person that you are is so much. Like, where you, like, it took somebody outside of me just fucking yelling at me almost, being like, dude, you are literally such a bitch for not realizing this. Like, and that honestly helped me, you know. So if you can't do the work personally because you are stuck in your own mindset, that might be why, like, it is hard for you to see that. It is hard for you to, you know, change your mindset. And I know not everybody can do this. I know that it takes a different lifestyle. I know that if I was me in middle school or me in some forms of high school, I probably would not have been able to do this work. I probably would have been stuck in a really bad situation that I was like, no, I have nothing good to look for. And I, you know, but at least in current day, yeah. And again, it was hard for me to do the work myself because I was unaware of all the blessings surrounding me. But somebody else outside of me giving me perspective really helped. And I've done the work now. And my outlook is literally like the Stoic thing of I have so much blessings around me. Yes, I have gone through stuff in the past, but I'm low-key like, why am I letting my traumas like dictate me right now? Why am I letting what? Dude, you have so much current day. Like, why am I letting stuff from so long ago dictate my life now? Especially whenever I'm such a like, I'm actually living in like a world of endless possibilities right now. Literally, like my friends are asking me to hang out, this and that, yada yada, and I'm the one that's just like, no, like yeah, yeah. Oh, and I baked brownies, and the tasks for myself every day. Whenever I actually do them, I do have a better day. Who would've thought? Who would've thought? Yeah, and today I'm gonna force myself to call some friends who I was like, I'm so annoying, they don't want to talk to me, I'm just so annoying, yada yada yada, and I'm gonna force myself to talk to them. I asked them yesterday if they would have time for a call today, and we're gonna play a game, and yeah, I was honestly scared texting them. I was like, what if they say no, what if they hate me? Like, but I realized, like, it's really not that deep, it's really not that deep, and I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna have fun. I was really scared at first, there was an anxious barrier, but then I forced myself to just do it, and who would've thought? They actually were really nice to me, and they were like, yeah, I have time for it, like, who would've thought? I don't know when I'll check back up, because I low-key think this was the grandest epiphany that I can have. I feel like if I start checking up, it's just gonna continue kind of being like this. But I'll see if there's a need for more checkups. If not, then I might just arrive at the conclusion, which is just gonna be my essay. And yeah, I swear that in an essay I can actually encapsulate more words and more ideas, because I was kind of thinking about the way, like, I've been thinking how I would kind of write this essay and how I'd kind of go about this. And yeah, like, I think I would just have to dwell more on the fact, like, I can actually dive deeper in my self-written words of, you know, like, how on the first day, I think the first and the second days, even though I failed the kind of concept and idea, I think that they were still very necessary, because it actually just, it helps so much to get writing about how my life is on the daily, because having to force myself and look at how I live daily, like that, like where I shut down, don't talk to anybody, I rot in my bed all day and I don't do anything, forcing myself to call myself out for that and see that this is how I live my life. I do that all the time. It really did help. And then, so that was the first thing that happened. I realized, like, holy fuck, the way that I live my life is not healthy, and it's weird, and it's bad. And then afterwards, I really tried to do the work. I was really failing, and I was like, I know, I have so much to be grateful for, but I don't care. What do I even do? And then again, having somebody else outside of me be able to give me all of that, and then boom, this whole realization, and forcing myself to do things that better my day, and seeing that it actually does get better whenever you do that. Like, yeah, just I can actually encapsulate that so much more into words instead of talking form. It would be so much better in an essay, where I can actually also think down and think of, like, sit down and think about what I'm saying and what I'm trying to, and like the first, later, then, you know, yeah, but I'll see how the rest of my time goes. I'll see if I get any other epiphanies. Otherwise, I might just come back with the essay, and the conclusion. Yeah, but I'll see. I think the rest of the days might just continually be a continuous thing of this. Then again, I haven't lived through them, so I don't know that yet. There might be some days where I am kind of stumbling again, and I have to force myself to, you know, come back up again. But I'll see. I feel like I did a really bad job explaining this, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I feel like it was just kind of like a jumble of emotion coming at you instead of actual words and thought processes. But I hope it made sense. I'll see it later on if it did or didn't, and I might just re-record, or I'll see. I was making a lot more sense when I was speaking this to myself rather than out loud. It just kind of felt like a word flurry and a thing of emotions coming out, and it kind of sucks too, because I'm in the good mindset right now, so I can kind of only give you the perspective of the good mindset. I wish that I could somehow bring the past me to show you the differences of how I kind of was and what I kind of went through to then get here, but I'm already at this place and I can't travel back, so I can't only show you and I swear this is real. I can only show you the butterfly. I can't show you the cocoon anymore. Yeah.
So what happened was I finished my finals. I finished my final essay. It's getting graded right now. I finished the project, finished everything. I'm currently in Mexico. I'm currently in Mexico. But yeah, like, I'm currently at Mexico with my, I don't know why I'm pronouncing it like that. Probably because I just expect, like, all my viewers, like, I just created habits while growing up of, like, I'm talking to certain people, like in Mex, like, if I talk to my family, even if they tell me, like, speak English, like, I will not just speak English good to them, like, I will speak it, like, with an accent, even though I can speak it fluently. And then in, like, USA, like, if people are, like, speak Spanish, like, I will be like, Mexico, because I've just developed that as, like, safety habit, safety precaution. I did not, like, as in people are gonna fucking kill me if, like, I don't fucking, whatever. Anyways, so I'm in Mexico right now, visiting my family. And, yeah, finals are over. I just got out of the shower, but I needed to finish this video already. I want to get it done, I want to get it edited, I want to get it fucking submitted, because I already submitted the fucking essay, you know, like, I finished the experiment, I'm done, I want this done. So even though my hair is not dry, it's flat as shit right now, and I look bad, I just want to get this done, and I don't know another time that I will have alone time. The rumors are true, you don't get space, like, your own space, if you're, like, in a big ass fucking family. So it's even right now that nobody's barging in, and there might be cuts where people barge the fucking in, and I have to be like, I'm so sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm making a I'm sorry, you know. Yeah, so, like, ugly ass fucking setup aside, that's not my usual setup, I don't have my usual lighting, and it's bad. Other than that aside, yeah, this is gonna be the final portion of the video. I have finished, like, the experiment, I finished everything. What I'm simply gonna do is I'm just gonna read my essay to everybody. I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm a dumbass, because I don't know the way that plagiarism works. I don't know if my work instantly gets put in a cloud somewhere, and then if, like, you guys decide to use this for your final, for whatever thing, or you guys decide to at least, like, reword my essay, I don't know, like, I don't know if there's gonna be a cloud somewhere where you'll be like, they plagiarized off of something. I don't fucking know how any of those plagiarism checks work. I genuinely don't even think they work like that. I think if you were to say my essay, you would just pass it off as your own. I don't know. And I don't know if I could get in trouble for putting it out there. I don't know if that makes my work no longer copyright, and if now that's, like, public domain, and that would suck if my work would become public domain. But I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. So I'm just gonna read my essay, and that's gonna be my conclusion for everything. Yeah, and I kind of feel like I've blueballed everybody with this experiment, you know, because I wasn't checking in as much, but if I'm being honest, there was not much more to check in on. Like, genuinely, I stayed really consistent throughout the rest of the time, and it was all with, like, the same idea, like, the same mindset. Like, every other day was truly just like, I'm gonna force myself to do something. I might be lazy, or, like, I might be anxious, and that's the thing. I learned, anxiety never goes away. It doesn't go away. It's still there. While I'm hanging out with my friends, while I'm talking with my friends, it's still there.
But like, I truly learned every single day that I pushed through it, and every single day that I forced myself to do something that I like. What do you know? I had a good day. I did have a good day. This shirt looks really big. I look like a fucking box on screen. What the fuck? But yeah, yeah, like that's something that I learned. And then literally every day was just the same thing of like, I forced myself to do it, and I did have a good day, and I realized all the time that I spent bed rotting was wasted time of my already limited days on Earth, you know. But yeah, other than that, like, I just feel like I kind of blue balled everybody, you know. Like, I didn't find out the secrets of life. I didn't meet Seneca himself and like give him a blowjob. Like, I didn't do anything. I look ugly as fuck. I look fucking chopped. But anyways, yeah, like I don't know. I kind of feel like I blue balled the audience. I did not find out the meaning of life. I did not find. But these are my findings of the experiment, and I'm just being truthful.
Through the habitual routines of life, people get caught up within their normalcy. Many stop to merely think about the ways that they change for improvement, but get sucked back into the perpetual cycle that is their life. And the thought never transpires into a reality where their life flourished from new findings. In the span of 10 days, I changed up my lifestyle within the spirit of Stoicism in order to log the differences in mindset that I can evolve to have. I find it important to take a step back from life and the choices we make in order to understand what is really going on before establishing behaviors or thoughts as normal, and instead fixing them as we learn in life. The spirit of Stoicism in specific stood out to me as its main preface is to reflect and see if you are acting within virtue. It is also a Stoic value to treasure wisdom and becoming more wise about how to handle your actions and thoughts. The Stoicism which I am specifically pulling from is Seneca Dialogues and Essays, translated by John Davy, a book which compiles teachings from Lucius Annius Seneca, an original Stoic philosopher in ancient Rome. Therefore, I decided to embark on a challenge that consisted of changing my lifestyle in 3 major ways, which went with Stoic values and in specific Seneca's writings. First, I challenged myself to tackle my main bad habit and to explore a better mindset with the advice of Seneca. The plan was to keep a daily log of at least 4 anxious or depressive thoughts during the day. I was then to review their root cause and how I handled the thoughts. The specific way which I wanted to change my mindset was to face my anxiety and depression head on. The reviewing and reflection would allow for me to keep myself accountable if my anxiety and depression took their toll on me and caused me to shut down. As Seneca advises about hardship, all adversity he regards as a training exercise. I assure you, good men should do the same. They should not be afraid to face hardships. Davy 18. Seneca wrote this within On Providence, a short essay, and its main principle was that trauma does not affect a virtuous person, as they regard the negative in their life as a tool to have gained wisdom on life and allows them to act within virtue of understanding others' hardship. The way this fits into my life is that I regularly experience anxiety about my future and get depressed about my past or about the dislikes of my present being. These thoughts often stem from the traumatic events in my life which still weigh me down. I wanted to challenge myself to call out these thoughts, review their causes and effects, and think through whether they should truly be weighing me down or not. The goal was to develop a mindset where I am empowered by the difficulties I have faced in my life, realize to be grateful for what I do have, and to carry out my days in virtue by not letting foolish worries affect my ability to be virtuous. Then I set out to force myself to do tasks which would help my mental tranquility. The challenge was to set new things for myself to do the next day, which would force myself to feel joy, even if I am anxious about the task. The challenge would help me maintain my mind at a state of composure, as I am forced to calm down and feel pleasant, rather than letting my mind get tempted by the day's jargonings. Seneca discusses, each man will have to adopt a plan of action according to his own character. This one, with its rapid and self-propelled violence, does not proceed gradually, but reaches its full scope the moment it begins. Davy 24. He is referring to the fact that anger is a dangerous vice as it controls people's mind at a full scope of control, and each person to deter themselves from this vice must adopt a plan of action which works for themselves. Seneca emphasizes that the same teachings doesn't work for all, and each individual must find their own plan to keep their peace of mind. The change for my life was very specific and necessary, as I had a horrid habit of bed rotting, a term to describe giving up on tasks, talking to others, and doing activities to simply avoid life. Life would always become too uncanny for me that I would reach a point of being drained and exhausted. I would choose not to do anything in my days to avoid life entirely. I hence challenged myself to force pleasant activities onto myself, like baking, hearing music, or seeing my friends to avoid the compulsion. Beginning is where most of the failures occurred. First few days, I had written 6 anxious and depressive thoughts during the day. The review of handling the situation was that I shut down and didn't do anything all day. I did not do any of the activities I had set out for myself because I simply had no motivation. Though the reviewing of my thoughts and response to the thoughts were good for me. It forced me to realize the way I live. I came to realize how many days I spent wasting away because of my negative thoughts. Consequentially, by the third day, I had an astonishing breakthrough. I forced myself to, for the first time, do the 3 activities I had laid out for myself. The activities were to talk to my friends, clean my room, and to bake. After completing all tasks, though anxiety remained, I felt much relief. The viewing of my prior day's depressive bouts were good to reflect on. It forced the realization that my life was being wasted in a hasty cycle. Though I had still not done much of the internal work of being grateful and appreciative of my hardships as the Stoic challenge emphasized. Furthermore, the following day, I challenged myself to appreciate my hardships as Seneca advised. The struggle I had with appreciating my life and reaching gratitude was the blindness to what blessings surrounded me. I couldn't name things which I was appreciative of, because they were things which were there yesterday and months before yesterday, and things which would still be there tomorrow and months after tomorrow. I did not feel I had to be grateful for things which felt granted to me. It was until I reached outside of myself for the proper viewpoint that I could have a breakthrough. I had encouraged a friend of mine to bluntly tell me all I have to be grateful for. Practice worked, as he was not blind to the things I was blind to. He named my free schooling, paid for apartment, paid for groceries, group of loyal friends, my resilience and strength. These things suddenly became clear to me again, like a veil was lifted off my eyes. I realized I have friends who do ask to see me, that I constantly turn down. I have free classes which I don't go to in fear of strangers. I have insecurities about myself and worries for my future, despite the fact that I am in control and my hardships have developed me into an intelligent, resilient person. Day 5, I realized I am stuck in a perpetual cycle of anxiety and depression that unnecessarily ruins my day every day. This cycle chokes me, even though my anxiety of the future is within my own control, and my trauma of the past has created me into the sharpened person I am today. It was the worries and thoughts which were trapping me and ruining my days, which I should have worried about all along. Breaking away from this cycle was astonishing, and forcing myself to do pleasant activities lightened my mind. Certainly, I continued the challenge after day 5 with my new mindset and routine. The slip-ups were minimal, as I was alert of not allowing my old thoughts and habits from ruining my new lifestyle. I learned along the rest of the days that my anxiety and depression do not go away. I simply do not let them affect me anymore. Therefore, the first 2 steps were a major success, and I will be applying this mentality for the rest of my life, more informally. The rest of the paragraphs are about the gossip mentality, and I'm not gonna report on that again because I've said before that I find it weird to be commenting on that. Yeah, and that was all I had to say. Honestly, I worded it the best there. Yeah, if you guys were to go on to do the Stoic challenge, just read, cater it to yourself. You can use the same, you can use the same thing if you guys are struggling with the same thing as me. You guys can also use the same viewpoints of Stoicism, but then just, affect them to your life if you're a more angry person, if you battle with anger more, if you battle with something that, a lot of society thinks is okay, but you're like, no, that's not okay, but you've always had an issue with standing up for that, and, Seneca's now telling you, no, you stand up for it, you follow your own moral compass, you could do something like that. If you guys want me to do a video kind of explaining Stoicism for what I kind of learned it to be. I know a lot of people that I was friends with did not understand Stoicism for what it was, at least not its OG roots. A lot of what people know is new gen, and it's not called new gen, but it's basically new gen. I don't know if you guys fucking want that, I don't fucking know. Anyway, bye.